Funding for Curate, the Arizona Arts and Culture Fund, is made possible by Signal Society member Eleanor Light, and by you can become a curator of the arts on 8. For more information, call 602-496-8888.
And now, an 8 special presentation.
This time on Art Beat Nation. An ancient art is resurrected.
40 years later, and now I'm an artist, and I create my own objects that hold my history and tell my stories.
A teen plays the blues like the greats.
He just got better and better to what he is today at 17 years old. And he can hold his own with anybody.
Artists employ language to spread their message.
This work will go out into the world and challenge people who are complacent about, injustice in the world to being invested in making a change.
And nature turns into sculpture.
The materials kind of dictate where things will go and where it will bend and what the overall look will be. So it's more of a collaboration with the materials.
It's all ahead on this edition of Art Beat Nation. Funding for Art Beat Nation is made possible by donations to Curate, the Arizona PBS Arts and Culture Fund, and by contributions to 8 from viewers like you. Thank you. In our first segment, we meet an artist who pours her passion for archaeology into the clay sculptures she dreams up. Take a look at how she balances her ideas with an ancient human tradition.
Well, as a child, it's kind of funny, I wanted to be Indiana Jones. Totally not an artist. And so from a very early age, I became fascinated with the idea of objects that held their own histories and told their own stories. 40 years later, and now I'm an artist, and I create my own objects that hold my history and tell my stories. As I got through school and realized that the anthropology, the earth science, the sociology classes that were necessary to become an archaeologist, I was like, not so much. So I thought if I can't be the person that digs up the art, maybe I can be the person that makes the art. And that's when I really decided that I was going to become an artist. Clay was created through the process of erosion, the breaking down of the Earth's crust. And I just think the history, some of the things that we know about ancient civilizations, we know because we found their pots. We found a fingerprint. And the fact that thousands of years later, I am doing the same basic thing that some prehistoric person did by creating some kind of container to hold something that's sacred to me. Maybe for some people it's that cup of morning coffee. Maybe for the ancient people it was grain. That link through time and history that ceramics holds, for me, that is just, I actually have goosebumps just talking about it because it's awesome. So I'll start with the ceramic vessel that I've made, and I'll paint it with underglaze. Every layer that's painted on the surface is translucent like watercolor, so it's kind of a see-through color. So to build up the solid quality of color on all of my pieces, in the background alone there can be 9 layers of color painted on the surface. So what I do is this multi-layering process of color. Because I do that, I usually will work on 5 or 6 pieces at one time, so while the underglaze is drying on one piece, I move to the next. Once I get the background painted on, I let it dry, and then I have a bunch of designs, different drawings of birds and ladders and trees and things like that, and I work out a lot of my design work on tissue paper. Once all the color's on, I have a fine line detail brush, and I use black underglaze, and I outline everything and put in all the little lines. And for me, that's when the magic happens. Because as I'm painting the contours and putting in the little lines, I'm thinking about what is this piece about? What am I trying to express? Is it something funny or something sad or something emotional? And somehow that magic of mind, heart, and body goes into the piece at that time so that when you as the viewer look at it, you feel something. My work is very narrative, it's very symbolic. I'm very inspired by nature, so nature is something that's always going to be showing up in my work. Another thing is birds. When I think of birds, I started to think about the women in my family and think of how powerful they were. I'm afraid of heights, so whenever I am feeling anxiety or I'm concerned about something, I start to paint ladders in my work representing that height. It also represents the idea of conquering your fears, because once you start on that journey, whatever it is, you get a little higher. Oh, this feels bad, and then you get used to it. Well, okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Okay, then you go up another rung and it's like, oh my God, and then you get used to it. Books represent the idea of history, my history, the history that I haven't yet written for myself. I got married when I was 36 and my husband was 40. He's got a book of his history and I have a book of my history. But when we get married, we start writing a new book together. So it's our job as partners to read each other's pages. Trees representing compromise, because they can move and bend with the wind and the forces of nature, but they don't usually break. Leaves represent the idea of change. I love the idea of leaves falling down and kind of decaying and providing nourishment for the roots. Whenever I need to remind myself to be fierce, I paint dragons. So what you see through my work is that whatever I'm experiencing, I find a way to put it in my work using this narrative symbolism. And I think that somehow the ideas I had in my head kind of filtered down through my heart and came out through my hands. So when I created something, people would look at it, not only would they like the way it looked, but they would feel something when they looked at it. And that's something that is mysterious to me still to this day.
Some teenagers may be a bit moody, but how many of them can actually sing and play the blues? In our next segment, we meet a 17-year-old who has been strumming the blues before large crowds since he was a little boy.
Have band rehearsal at the house when I was playing in bands. We were playing a song, and there was Daniel in his diapers over there dancing, and so he had the feel in him at an early age. I think, you know, just enjoying music and feeling the vibe.
There was always guitars around the house, and it just kind of came naturally. You know, he never, you know, my parents never tried to force me or anything. It just kind of, I just always saw it around, and it was something that I kind of picked up on. I was about 9 when I really started playing guitar, when I really actually got into it and said, wow, I really want to do this.
I was always playing acoustic guitar around the house, and I wanted somebody to kind of to jam with me, and he started taking an interest. So I immediately just jumped on that and tried to teach him some chords, and he took to it right away and was very efficient at an early age.
It became, I just wanted to play every day. It wasn't that I was forcing myself to, it was just like, it's like a bug. It's like anything, you know, you really enjoy doing it, so it just happens all the time, and you just want to do it all the time. You don't want to do anything else.
Around 10 and a half, he wanted to start going and playing out at jams, because he had seen us go to jams and doing that thing, blues jams around town. And I said, no, you're not ready. I wouldn't let him. And he begged me, and I said, you know, you got to learn the 3 kings, Freddie, BB, and Albert King, before I'll take you out to a jam. So he took it upon himself and started studying the 3 kings. And it was about, I would say, 10 and a half, 11 maybe. He was playing all the classic blues stuff. And then I said, you know what, let's go. So we went to Doc Williams's jams, one of the first jams with him.
I always hold my breath when a kid comes up, because sometimes it's mom and dad wanting to push him or get cute photos of him for the grandparents. But Daniel wasn't a disappointment. He knew his chords, he knew what to do.
So he got up there and he blew everybody away, just tore it up, and the crowd went wild. So it was really just one of those magical events of the alley, if you will.
Here's this kid, you know, he's like 11 years old, you know, how kids are at that time, and he's up there just wailing on the blues. And people were just amazed, and still are, of the level of his talent.
He was good from the start. He just grew as a player. He was timid and didn't sing at first. He was conscious of his voice changing, and as his voice changed and as he grew more confident on stage, he just got better and better to what he is today at 17 years old. And he can hold his own with anybody.
He's come from being a jammer to where he is the front man for the Daniel Heights Band, and they're here approximately once a month at this point.
Have you ever loved a woman?
Playing in blues clubs for, you know, someone his age is probably not the best environment. I'm there to chaperone him. Believe me, I keep a close eye on him, and when we're not playing, we're usually off in a corner or we go outside.
I've never had an issue with Daniel playing in blues clubs. His father has always been with him, and we know where he is and what he's doing, and he's surrounded by good people, and it's never been a problem.
My dad definitely has been the driving force behind this whole thing, because I mean, without him, I'd probably be playing baseball or, you know, anything else. So without that musical background that he had, I wouldn't be anywhere. You know, he taught me my first chords. He's been there through my first gig.
I got to tell you, as a father, I couldn't be prouder. I'm having the time of my life. It's really awesome. And to be playing with him as a musician and share the stage with him is just a real honor. And to see how he grows, and we're just having a great time. And I couldn't be prouder as a father and as a musician as well.
When I'm up there, it's like nothing else is going on. It's like it's just me and the guitar, and that's why I do it. It's because it really is something that I love to do, is to be up on that stage.
Thank you guys.
In our next segment, we check out an exhibit featuring the works of artists Ian Hamilton Finley and Leslie Dill. What links the two seemingly dissimilar creators? Reporter Jared Bowen takes a look.
They're two vastly different artists. Ian Hamilton Finley, the late acerbic Scot, and Leslie Dill, the active sculptor besotted with prose. Different viewpoints, different times, but words are their common wellspring.
What I decided to do was split the main gallery and create a dialogue of two artists who I thought were compatible but very distinct.
Jennifer Gross, the new chief curator at the DeCordova Sculpture Park and Museum, has long followed Dill's career. A native New Englander now working in New York, Dill is enamored with language. Words, thoughts, and poetry are the physical basis of her art.
Leslie has a phrase she likes to say a lot, is that when she first was inspired by language, by Emily Dickinson actually in her 40s, that it was like birds flew down her throat, that those words were something that she sort of actually were a medium. It wasn't, you know, almost a spiritual, metaphysical experience.
And we literally see her language. How does she incorporate it into materials?
She sews it, she casts it in bronze, she cuts it out of metal sheeting and then weaves it together, weaving form and language together to create something that is other.
Dill's sculpture often takes on human form, especially her own petite one. It's her belief that our unspoken words are as much a part of our makeup as organs and tissue.
Those forms are often truncated, so they may have no arms or head, depending on how the language needs to move through them. Or sometimes she offers up. You'll see there's many hands in the exhibition where she sort of uses the hand as a conduit to offer up language to the viewer.
The DeCordova presents some 20 years of Dill's work, a time when her passion for prose has only deepened and blossomed into partnerships with poets like Tom Slay.
She really is like on a warpath for the language that will inspire her. She reads a lot, she vets a lot of poetry, writing out sentences, until in fact it catalyzes this kind of magical engagement for her.
words were equally enchanting to Ian Hamilton Finley. A provocateur, he inserted modern exclamations into classical art forms, combined antiquity with the French Revolution, and he relished the element of surprise. But he did it all from afar. Finley was a rural recluse.
Ian Hamilton Finley had a vision to reclaim contemporary society from what he felt was both its aesthetic and moral degradation. And so, but ironically, he was an agoraphobic who never left his farm croft in Scotland.
That farm is Finley's masterwork. Named Little Sparta, it is a formerly barren area in rural Scotland that the artist transformed into a sculpture park and garden. His work as an avant-gardener in Little Sparta combines language with sculpture, a perfect harmony between the abstract and the concrete.
He deposited language into it, whether it's on stone plinths or bridges or in little sculptures, cast sculptures of aircraft carriers, but things that seemed incongruous in the landscape, and then they always had language attached to them. So he first and foremost was a poet.
And Finley's major inspirations were the writers and philosophers of the French Revolution, whose words are ubiquitous in his own work. Finley saw himself as a revolutionary, wanting to demolish society's indifference.
The body of the work is really about him inspiring a revolution, that in fact he wanted to, or actually hopes that in the future this work will go out into the world and challenge people who are complacent about, injustice in the world to being invested in making a change.
Revolutionary, poetic, and cutting edge, Finley's work is still finding its place in the art world.
He was sort of in step in his connection way with artists in the 80s and the 90s who were doing very sort of aggressive stances on political and social issues. But the fact that he is doing this sort of in an ephemeral way is unique to him, and I think will continue to be taken apart. I think that the art world doesn't yet know all the work well enough.
But at the de Cordova, word is spreading.
In our final segment, an artist pulls from nature when sculpting human adornments. These wild creations consist of flowers of seemingly endless variety and sprout in beautiful arrangements from the models who wear them. Take a look.
You can make an arrangement out of anything, anywhere, at any time. Definitely eclectic, unusual textures and unusual combinations of things. It's a little more sculptural, a little more out there. When I'm doing something just for art's sake, then there's no real limit. The branch of Japanese floral design that's most appealing to me is called Sogetsu, and it's one of the more modern schools. Like sticks and branches and bamboo and just like found objects. It's like you can recognize the branch, but then it's like in a color that's not natural, like a bright blue or hot pink. So it just brings another bit of tension to something, because it's like, well, it's natural, but it's so unnatural at the same time. And then there's just the implied tension of really strict line and chaos. So it's almost like you have a trellis and then you've let the garden kind of overtake it. So there's that tension of like very architectural and very natural. I draw a lot of inspiration from it, and just from nature and gardening in general. So I try to bring that all into my work and then throw people in there as well. I think I've always been drawn to tribal cultures and just decoration in general. That sort of adornment was always important to me, just in general. And then once you bring the floral aspect in, then it draws back to like every single culture. It's like people have always used flowers to decorate themselves. So that's always been like a key factor in like what I want to show the world and like how to kind of bridge the gap between people and flowers. Based on the colors and structure here, and then we're going to tie it in with the headdress. And then as I work, the materials kind of dictate where things will go and where it will bend and what the overall look will be. So it's more of a collaboration with the materials. Okay, I think we should do flowers now. After we have our base of foam, then I can attach anything anywhere. The way I work in general, I'm not so caught up in like, this was my idea and I have to have it exactly this way. Like if I planned it, I would be disappointed because things don't necessarily always go the way you want it to. especially when you're working with natural materials. Just kind of ethereal. Like I wanted everything to kind of feel floating and kind of like unnatural, but like bright and very airy. Part of my favorite thing with the way, especially with fashion, it's like no one can possess this, no one can have this, it's only for the moment. Well, that specific shoot kind of worked perfectly. We had a model coming in town for another reason. I had never met her, I just saw a few pictures. I was like, well, she has pink hair, that's perfect. We were a little bit thrown because the model was not comfortable doing implied nudity, so I was like, what do we do? So we ended up having to buy just plain white dresses, which worked perfectly with her hair. You have to work within what the model's comfortable working with. So that was just some of the things that go through my head during a project. If I'm doing something specifically for like an art project, I think there's a different process for me than if I'm making something for a customer. Retail-wise, it has to fit within this price range. It has to last this amount of time. Generally, when we have the orders that are like $200 to $500, it's like one arrangement, we want to blow them away. Usually the customer will give us all of the words that we need to translate. Like people will say impressive or elegant or overwhelming. So it's like you can always take those things and translate it directly into flowers easily. Most of the flowers we use, I think, tend to be things that people don't really know about. So it's kind of a surprise. We get to introduce people to new varieties of things and new techniques. People really like to see the whole process of the arrangement. So it's like they get the arrangement and then things start opening and then things start changing and then things sometimes start even growing. My favorite philosophy is wabi-sabi. And one of those is like the cherry blossoms are more exciting right before they open because it's the anticipation of what it's going to be. A big factor for me is to have people enjoy the whole process instead of like, here's the arrangement, it's really pretty right now, but it's not gonna last very long. So I want it to last as long as possible. We try to let it be more of a collaboration with the customer. So instead of like, this is what you get, it's like you pick all the elements, we put it together, everybody wins, everyone gets what they want, everyone's happy. I think in the future I'll be doing more photo shoots, more book-related stuff, maybe some teaching and traveling, but I'll always have the store as a home base. I've been in the industry for 20 years and I still see things new. There's always new varieties, there's always things that are just becoming available, so I'm never ever bored in it. So it's like I try to bring those elements into what we're selling to our customers. It's like I want them to be as excited about what I'm excited about. And that, I think, is what brings the shop totally into a different kind of vibe.
For more information, visit babylonfloral.com. For more arts and culture, visit azpbs.org/artbeat, where you'll find feature videos and information on the Arizona art scene. Funding for Artbeat Nation is made possible by donations to Curate, the Arizona PBS Arts and Culture Fund, and by contributions to AIT from viewers like you. Thank you.
Funding for Curate, the Arizona Arts and Culture Fund, is made possible by Signal Society member Eleanor Light, and by you can become a curator of the arts on 8. For more information, call 602-496-8888.